For some background, I've always been interested in psychedelics and hadn't had the chance to try anything other than weed until just a year ago. Since then, I've had a few experiences with LSD, somewhere between 7 and 10 experiences with shroomies, and I've also indulged in other substances such as ecstasy, MAOI, nitrous oxide, and my all-time favorite, DMT. It is my belief that if a person goes through their entire life without at least using a strong psychedelic one time, they've missed out. I also feel like everyone owes it to themselves to experience DMT, smoked or ayahuasca, at least one time in their life. It is an extraordinary substance capable of changing lives for the better. This brings me to one of the most important experiences in my life. This was my third or fourth attempt with DMT, but my first breakthrough. To give you an idea of the setting, it was about 8 p.m. at a good friend's house. We'll call him S. It was me, S, and my roommate P. I was very comfortable around both of them and they felt the same. We turned on some psychedelic music I'd never heard before and we loaded our pipes. While I know it can be dangerous to not have a sitter present, we all decided to embark on this adventure simultaneously. We each packed a small layer of weed in the bottom of a bowl, then approximately 60 milligrams of DMT, then another small layer of weed. Since I had nothing to freebase it with, I felt like if I could cherry the weed on top, it would be just hot enough to fill the chamber with the thick white DMT smoke without burning it. It obviously worked. The first hit just gave me the typical burning plastic taste in my mouth. I held each hit in for as long as I could. The second hit didn't do much either. I noticed a small difference in the overall color/lighting in the room after I blew out the second hit though. It seemed a little darker. Like a dark orange color. Very warm and inviting. After the third hit was exhaled, I noticed definite perceptual changes as the orange color just overwhelmed the room and a series of geometric patterns momentarily spread across the ceiling and floor. I knew that I was definitely tripping, but I also knew that I needed to take another hit. After the fourth hit was exhaled, I felt extremely heavy. The initial body rush was amazing and intense. I had a hard time talking when I tried explaining to S&P what I was feeling. About 10 seconds after I set the pipe down, I looked down at my hands that were resting on my knees. I literally saw hundreds of fingers on each of my hands spreading out to infinity. It's very hard to explain exactly what it looked like, but I knew I had hundreds of fingers, each of which I had complete control over. I looked out onto the shag carpet and immediately felt as though I was sitting on a stage in front of millions of people, each person a single strand of the shag carpet. I was overwhelmed by what was going on and was immediately overcome by this feeling of lifting out of my own body. I laid back on the couch I was sitting on and was gone. I had completely forgotten that I had taken this medicine and I had forgotten that I was sitting in a bedroom with 2 of my stoner friends. I was flying through blackness. It was surreal. I could feel wind in my hair. I was really flying. Out of the blackness, I see a cloud below me and I flew down to it. Setting foot on this cloud was like being on a different planet. I walked through arches that resembled those of ancient Greece and Rome. I believed I was in heaven. I finally walked through a final arch and noticed a grape orchard with a city far in the distance behind it. I could see a full moon partly covered and shining behind a large building far away from me. But as I looked harder, I noticed that the full moon was actually a giant entity's face. His body must have been hundreds of feet tall. He was as tall as the buildings. I thought nothing of it and noticed that my mom and my grandma were there with me, wearing white robes and talking to me non-verbally. I could communicate with them without any words whatsoever. I forget exactly what our conversation consisted of until the end when they both said it's time. He's ready for you. Puzzled, I kept asking what they were talking about, but they kept saying the same thing. Their voices both getting more high-pitched every time they said it. I looked back at the moon and noticed this alien entity was no longer standing there. I was overcome by immense blackness again. When light had come back to me, I found myself chained down on a white grid flying through darkness with neon geometric shapes randomly appearing around me. Sure enough, the entity presented himself in front of me. I was honestly a little overwhelmed. I didn't know if I was scared or worried, but the overall feeling was oddly comfortable. Through nonverbal communication, I spoke with the entity who I now believe to be God. He was a bluish-greenish-purplish alien-looking entity but was very warm and inviting. He said to me, "I love you. What's about to happen might scare you but I promise it won't hurt. I love you. I wouldn't hurt you." I completely trusted this being and let him do what he wanted to do. It turns out he wanted to rip one of my limbs off. As he tore away at my right leg, I noticed that it didn't hurt a single bit and I was oddly okay with the situation. Through the hole where my leg used to be, different colored vapors were pouring out. Each color representing something I needed to get out of my life. These were all colors I've never seen before. I couldn't possibly explain them to you. One of them represented fear, another hate, and there were others I can't remember. After these vapors stopped coming out, he reattached my leg, blackness came over me again, and I was brought back to my body. I honestly felt better than I'd ever felt in my life. I felt like all of the things that left my body during the trip truly left my body. I was happier than I'd ever been for about a month after this experience. DMT is a powerful medicine that should be used by everyone in my opinion. I look forward to many other experiences with DMT and hopefully ayahuasca in the near future.